Hi everyone, my name is Robon Edwards. I graduated from Adrian High School and attended the LISD TECH Center Intermediate School District. I am super excited to share a little bit with you guys today on my story and my journey. Like I said, so I graduated from Adrian High School. When I was in high school, the number one question was, well, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And that was like asking what is a black hole. I had no idea, So for me to choose at such a young age what kind of career I wanted to do was nearly impossible, right? And then to invest all that time going to school or going to the trades and things like that. So what I did, I realized that the LISD offered something that was really unique and something that's special, right? They offered an opportunity for you to learn about a career field while still in high school. And I took advantage of that right away. And through mentorship, through teachers in high school, I found out that civil engineering was the route that I wanted to go. MDOT actually had their track program integrated into the high schools, and that program showed to me that civil engineering is an option, right? And so at Adrian High School, I decided to take the engineering design and CAD class at the LISD TECH Center because I really wanted to find out more about engineering and specifically more about civil engineering as well. And so I found that civil engineering was one of those things that everyone needs, right? And so a lot of people at school, they wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or all those things, right? Because they wanted to help people. Well, I wanted to help people too, but I don't really have steady hands, and being a doctor, like blood, no thanks, right? So civil engineering was the route because everyone uses roads, everyone needs water, they need sewer, they need bridges to get to point A to point B, and that is literally what drives America, is our infrastructure, right? All around the world, it's what connects people. That's how you get to point A to point B. Airports, bridges, dams, you name it, civil engineers have to touch it, right? Including the building that you're in right now. So this big piece of hunk of metal right behind me is called the Ambassador Bridge. It is a huge piece of infrastructure for this area, in fact for the country. Hundreds of semi-trucks travel across it daily, carrying cargo that we all need. Now, how does something like this come about, right? Is it a doctor that built this or a lawyer? No, not even a race car driver, although I'm sure they would love to drive across it. It's actually engineers, right? And not just civil engineering, but mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, transportation engineers, environmental engineers, right? All of these people work together to create this one piece. And so the reason why I bring that up is because the engineering design and CAD class at the Tech Center touches all of those points, right? And so as someone who was really young in high school, not knowing what type of engineering I wanted to do, this class helped me focus and narrow that down by learning a little bit about each one of those degrees of engineering. And that's what helped me out a lot, because through that process, that's where I fell in love with what engineering is. And so, I knew that I wanted to help people. And so that's the first thing, is identifying that problem. Well, people need help in every way, right? And so specifically civil engineering, people got to get to point A to point B the fastest and the most efficient, right? And then with that, how does that infrastructure last for more than just one day, right? And then how can you maintain that traffic that currently use that piece while working right alongside of it? Sometimes most of the time it is very dangerous and very complicated. However, the things that I learned in this class really helped me when I came out here into the field. For example, it helped me network, because networking is probably one of the most important tools that anyone can have, especially an engineer. Taught me how to network, taught me how to communicate. Notice a couple of these things have nothing to do with math. I'm very bad at math, right? Taught me how to network, communicate, taught me how to lead and organize a team, right? To accomplish a goal. And so an example of that is, this class is so complex that it's really competitive. And so we competed, not just students in the class, but we competed against students in the state as well as the nation. And so this competition was called the Bridge Competition, right? And so this is where students get to take their skills that they've learned from class and design and model and build and test a model bridge made out of balsa wood. And so I was really lucky to compete in this 2 years. The first year we competed, and it was a lot of growing pains, right? It was something that I wasn't really familiar with. However, I just stuck to the process that Miss Benson taught, right? The engineering design process. And through that process, we were able to compete and actually get second place at states our first year. Second year came around, and this was the opportunity I got to have to lead a group of my peers to not only compete competitively at states, but make it to nationals and place second at nationals. Now, if you remember, I mentioned something about networking, and this is where it's really important. At nationals, you got to meet the creator of Bentley MicroStation, who is very high touch, right? He's very hard to reach. So to be able to network with him, because we used his software to design our bridge, was really cool. And here's the other thing. Civil engineering has to do a lot with transportation, right? So you might have heard something called Department of Transportation. Well, each state was represented there by their head department, right? And so we got to network with those people and pick their brains on some of the big projects that were coming, not just to Michigan, but all around the world, all across the state. The other thing is learning how to sell yourself, right? Well, what do you mean sell yourself? I'm in engineering, what do I have to sell? I'm not gonna sell a piece of brick to you, but really you have to sell yourself. And so really, everyone has to do that, not just engineers, but doctors, lawyers, athletes, politicians, everyone, because everyone, in order to get a job, is gonna have to get through an interview, right? And so this class, we also competed in the BPA, which is Business Professionals of America, something that is very competitive, right? And so I was able to practice many times in the classroom how to conduct an interview, right? How to create a portfolio. In high school, you're doing art classes and gym classes, this and that, but this is when we really got to dive into, practicing those skills that are going to take you to the next level, to college and beyond. And so I was able to develop a portfolio, right? What's a portfolio? I have no idea, right? A portfolio is something that you can only develop when you have a bunch of experience in a certain field, right? And so that can come from different projects that you've created, maybe teams that you've led, characteristics that you've developed, networking skills, right? So all of these things go into this binder, and it's a portfolio of you, of your professionalism, of the things that you can do, right? And so this is something that you'll take and you go to a possible employer and you conduct an interview, right? And again, remind you, this is all in high school, right? We're going 2 levels above, all right? And so taking this portfolio is just only gonna take you 3 steps higher than everyone else, right? You're gonna be able to, 1, not be nervous in that interview. You're gonna be able to speak fluently. You're gonna be able to present like I am to you guys right now. All of these things aren't necessarily taught in high school to the degree of detail that engineering design and CAD does. And so engineering design and CAD had many modules to it. It didn't just touch base on civil engineering or mechanical engineering, right? It touched base on all of those skills that all engineers use, right? Like manual drafting, like measurements, like design, being able to design your own electric boat motor, being able to design your own item, and then being able to 3D print that right in the classroom. And so that sounds really cool, but it's actually really complex, right? First you have to learn how to use the right terminology, because you have to communicate with your peers and to the instructor what your end goal is, because you don't just take a fishing pole and reel it out there and hope to catch something. Everything's planned, right? And so again, we're following that design process. Sometimes you're gonna have to think outside of the box, and so when we were able to product design our own item, it was really cool, because we were able to take all those the things that we learned in class, like manual drafting and blueprints, right? We were able to take that and apply it to something that we find personal, right? It could be anything. For example, it could be a car, right? A little model car, okay? This is something that seems pretty simple. Everyone knows it has 4 wheels, it has 2 doors, 4 doors, right? And windows all around. Well, what if my design is different from what you're thinking about, right? And how do I communicate that? Well, that's where the blueprints come in. I had no idea what blueprints were, or even how to create them, nor how to read them, right? But this class teaches you the industry standard that every professional uses. MDOT, everyone, right? And so being able to take that knowledge and then apply that to where I am here today, standing right here next to the Ambassador Bridge, has been very, very helpful. Engineering design and CAD really put me just that next level above everyone else, to where my networking skills were noticeable amongst my peers, right? And so being able to network with people from MDOT and determining like, okay, where can I take my career? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to end up, right? Looking at the end and then working backwards. And so I learned that, you got to choose a really good school. And so I learned about Michigan Tech, Michigan Technological University. And so what's really cool about that school is it's a competitive engineering school. Very difficult to get in, and it's very highly sought after by employers. And so because I was going to Michigan Tech, the career fair there was so awesome that I was able to just knock out that first impression. Because, from engineering design and CAD, when you had to sell your portfolio, I was able to take those skills and apply it to real life outside of the classroom. And so with really good mentorship from Miss Benson, the instructor of engineering design and CAD, I was able to just keep on practicing, okay, how can this interview go, right? And so once I was able to nail that interview, I was able to obtain a job with HNTB here in Detroit as a highway design engineer. And so when I was, my first 2 years in college, I was actually working all year round, by my choice, working on projects that are some of the biggest in the state, like I-94 modernization project, 375 reconfiguration, all these huge projects. And so I was able to learn a lot of those highway, design skills inside there. And then a few years later, I was like, well, how can I take this career even further? Like, what kind of knowledge do I need to gain? And so, again, I went to Miss Benson, and she was like, well, you're really good with like the manual drafting and all that thing, but what is it like being out in the field, your boots on the ground, right? And so I was like, oh, you're right. Like, those are 2 totally different things. And so that's where I was able to work with HNTB, and I was able to compete for a position working on the largest infrastructure project in North America, the Gordie Howe International Bridge right here in Detroit, right behind me. Currently in construction. It is a huge project, like I said. But what's really cool is that many people will retire on this project because it's their dream project, right? And I'm able to start here, right, not even graduated from college yet, working on a project of that caliber, which is really awesome. And that's all because of engineering design and CAD. That is the foundation of where I became who I am today. Everyone needs engineering. Engineering touches everyone in some way. And so that's how I ended up here today. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all the mentors that I've had along the way. And one of the best is Miss Benson, the instructor of engineering design and CAD. She's someone that I still stay in contact to this day. She's helped me every step of the way, from deciding what that next step should be, figuring out who should I get in contact with, and really focusing on, okay, what's that end goal? What's my dream? Okay, and how can we work backwards from there to accomplish it? Miss Benson in the classroom was really hands-on with each student, ensuring that the knowledge that they needed fitted with their goals, right, at the end of the day. So the classroom was filled with civil engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, right? And so we all have basically the same design process. However, each one can focus on something just a little bit differently, right? And so she was really awesome with that, learning when to push and when not to push, and when to let our creativity flow, but then also restricting that, because in reality, out here in the field, you know, we can't just build a rainbow bridge. There's limitations and restrictions on everything. So she was really, really awesome with that. You know, high school is a great time to have fun and to really just slow down and enjoy your youth. But here's the thing, people are always gonna ask you, what do you wanna be when you grow up? You know, take advantage of all those resources that you have now and don't take those for granted. Get out of your comfort zone, step out of the box and step up for yourself. Don't be afraid to communicate and share what it is that you're looking for. There's always someone there right around the corner willing to help you. Find those people and accomplish those dreams. I just want to take the time to thank Miss Benson, to thank James Jackson, to thank MDOT, to thank HNTB, and more importantly, to thank the Illinois Intermediate School District.